Are you tired of riding an emotional roller coaster every month? As a woman, I get it. The Women's Wheel is here to be your emotional anchor. Understand your cycle and discover the archetypes that resonate with your unique and dynamic emotional landscape. Together, let's find balance, strength, and a sense of ease through the changes. Head to womenswheel.co to start your journey of self-discovery and emotional empowerment today.
Hey everyone, Nick here. You're about to listen to an incredibly long episode, so I apologize for making it longer by having this little intro. I just want to say that this episode was my first time doing a live stream, and I had tons of technical issues. My computer did not like live streaming, and it restarted halfway through. So I was able to stitch together the audio from the live stream recording on YouTube. Some of the recorded audio from Riverside was lost. So bear with it as some of the audio improves and gets worse and then comes back together again. Hopefully I'll get better at this in the future. Just enjoy it, and thank you so much for listening. All right, so I am lucky to have two guests with me this time, the amazing Christopher Rich and the amazing John Gascot. John, we had on the podcast earlier. So, John, I want to start off by asking, how was your show at the work?
Oh, it just ended, and it was fabulous. It was really, really
Yay.
awesome. Yeah.
Terrific.
So John did an amazing series of paintings all about drag culture and voguing. Is that right?
Yeah, ballroom culture.
Wonderful.
Ballroom culture. Awesome.
Wonderful.
And Christopher, thank you for joining me too. Christopher, you're also an artist in the Kenwood neighborhood.
Yes.
So tell us a bit about what kind of work you do.
So I do assemblage work, and I use antiques, recyclables, sometimes new things, everything from china to dolls to things I find or people send to me, and I create sculpture with that. Large ones, big ones. I do a lot of memory boxes and all of that kind of stuff.
I love your dolls. What do you call them? Little cuties or something like that?
Yeah, there's different ones, so I do Party Girls, which is the one that they're antique Kewpie dolls that are mounted in vintage martini glasses with fake ice cubes, and they have top hats on them, and they're all different. Each doll is different. So I try not to buy, two dolls at the same time when I find them. So they're all unique to each other. And I do some other, I use serving pieces and mount antique toys, broken mechanical toys, and I work in other things that kind of have the same feeling to each piece.
Great. Well, I'm excited to have both of you here because I go to the movies at least once a week. I obsessively watch everything that's new, and I have no friends who are as obsessed with movies as I am. So I'm very happy to get the two of you together to gush about this list. And I don't know about you two, but I was disappointed in the list because I've seen so few movies. I thought I was doing really well. I saw 112 new movies that came out in the year, and I've only seen half of the Best Picture nominations. So how did you guys do with keeping up with all the great stuff that came out in 2023?
Sure.
I would say about
Christopher, let me start with you.
What's that? I'm sorry?
So I want to start with you, Christopher. How was it hard to keep up with all the movies that were coming out last year?
It was. There were a lot of movies that I was kind of torn between what should I see first, or if I want to see it or not see it. One of those movies would be Past Lives. I've tried to watch it 3 different times, and it just doesn't do it for me. And I enjoy the lead actress quite a bit. I know her from the morning show and other things, but yeah, that one wasn't such a great one for me. But I did see a lot of really good films this year that that I'm excited to see made the Oscar nominations list.
I'm interested in hearing you say that about Past Lives, because that was my number one movie of the year.
Isn't that funny? See, I thought I'd really like it, and several friends said, "Oh, you need to see Past Lives," and I tried, and I felt like it was a little. I enjoyed the flashback scenes more than I did the current tundra of the movie, for sure.
What about you, John? Did you find that it was just like a crazy amount of stuff this year? Was it hard to keep up? How would you compare it to 2022's films?
Yeah, and I don't know if it has to do with the fact that now it's like you have at the movies, but now you have straight to streaming that are all kind of going on at the same time. It seems like it just increases the amount of stuff that's out there. But I would say I'm like with you. I've probably seen about half of the best. Yeah.
So I also want to touch on what Christopher said too. There's a lot of movies that were on the list and that, you know, were made a lot of money, were important movies this year that I just don't give a shit about. Like, I don't know if emotionally I can handle watching the Zone of Interest, a movie about the people who work in Auschwitz.
Right.
It's like, yeah, and then also there's that super Christian movie that made a ton of money this year about the kids being kidnapped into sex slavery.
Oh my gosh, yeah, and that was such BS too, because it was all, you know, it was all a little scheme to detract voters. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I'm not familiar with that one.
Yeah, it's horrible. Just kept buying out the theaters for that one. It was with Jim Caviezel. I can't even remember the name.
Well, and especially when it came out that all of those, the reason it was doing so well at the box office was because all of these religious groups were going and buying mass amounts of tickets and not even showing up at the theater. So that, of course, increased the box office money making part of it. But yeah, that was it.
All right, so before we get into the actual Oscar nominations, I have a few of our own like little categories I wanted us to chat about. So starting with you, John, what was your favorite series that you watched? Whether it's a limited series, a mini series, a season of a TV show that you watched in 2023.
So I was thrilled to see how Beef took over the Emmys? Yeah, the Emmys. But my favorite was Swarm.
Swarm. Oh, that's right. I wanted to watch that, but never got to it.
It was just really clever and really dark. And Dominique Fishback was the lead actress, and when those nominations came out, I was like, "Ooh, it's between Ali and Dominique." But even though I really wanted Dominique to win. Like, her performance was just beyond. But I was happy. I was happy for Ali because I just enjoyed that whole series. It was kind of fresh. And
you're referring to the Emmys, right?
The Emmys. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I feel bad that I didn't watch anything with the Emmys. I mean, I was in the middle of getting a new AC installed in a house in Miami, so. But I did want to. Yeah. But that was on one of the shows that I wanted to watch, heard great things about. But it's hard enough to keep up with new movies. It's even harder to keep up with series.
Sure. Really, there's so much good TV out there and movies. I mean, but specifically TV, like, you know, I'm old enough to remember when there were a certain amount of channels and certain amount of content, and when the TV went off at 1 a.m. or whatever it was, and now it's just unlimited. The amount of stuff that comes out is just unlimited, and it's so hard to keep up with.
And what about you, Christopher? What was some shout outs and the best thing you want to direct people towards from the year?
So I loved Beef. Of course, Ali Wong is fantastic, and I think she's super talented. And it was, while there were a lot of neat different things going on in the movie. It was comedic. There were some comedic points which I think held audiences and watchers that you wanted to come. It wasn't like so depressing or anything like that, but I enjoyed that. But one of my favorites was For All the Light You Cannot See. I loved that. I had read the book. I was very interested as it was being made. I had read about it and about the actress who played the lead part. Did either of y'all see it?
No, but I did hear that one of the film reviewers I listened to said that they were very excited about it and they couldn't get past the first episode.
Oh, wow! So I guess because I had read, like I said, I had read the book and I thought that the story followed the book really well, which usually isn't the case, and. Right. I was really interested in watching too because I had read that the main actress is actually blind, like the main character of the story. So I loved it. Yeah.
Okay, I'm glad you enjoyed it. What network is that on?
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. What streaming service or network was that on?
That's on Netflix.
Okay. I lost access to Netflix when they, I think it was around February, when they like took out the ability to stream on someone else's account. They got rid of the crackdown on that. So I had pretty much the whole year with no Netflix. So that's where the biggest hole in what I was able to see this year is.
Yeah.
So for me, I definitely want to quickly shout out how incredible The Last of Us was. I feel like we don't deserve a show as good as The Last of Us.
Right.
But what I really want to call out is a Korean show that was on Hulu called Moving. I'm a sucker for superhero stuff.
I saw
Moving,
I didn't see it though.
Yeah. So it's advertised as a superhero thing, but that's really not the crux of it. It starts off as a teen drama. These two kids meet in high school. They start to fall for each other. They find out that both of them are hiding a secret, and the secret is that they each have some type of superpower. And then the show becomes a flashback on how their parents, who also have superpowers, used to work for the government, like in espionage, doing spying against North Korea and stuff, involved in these like secret wars. And then a whole bunch of stuff got in trouble, and they had to go into hiding from both the South Korean and North Korean government. And that's how they ended up in this town where the children meet. And then it all kind of comes crashing down at the end of the series as everyone gets discovered. But incredible emotion, storylines, so many great ways that they've like shown how these powers can manifest and be useful. I found it wonderful, and it was very moving.
You know, it's funny. Those Korean soap operas and all of the stuff that they have done this last year on Netflix. It's amazing. Some of them are really, really good.
Yeah. So, is there any shows that you're excited about next or 2024?
Yes, I know this might sound a little crazy, but Sofia Vergara has a new show coming out on Netflix, and it's called Griselda. And it is about a Colombian drug lord that was very famous. And I'm interested to see her. You know, you always see her in these comedic roles. Mm-hmm. And she is funny, and I'm just a fan. So sometimes I tend to go for those shows that maybe aren't that great, but they might have someone super fun in it. So I'm interested to see how she'll be as a dramatic actress.
I don't know why I thought that was a movie, and I've been waiting for it to be out as a movie. And
right.
They've kind of toughened her up, but have you seen the real Griselda?
Right.
I mean, she's still pretty glamorous for the
real Griselda. Yeah.
The real Griselda was kind of like, she looked kind of like Selena's, the lady that killed Selena, but with a lot of
yeah. Ooh. Yikes.
She really did. Because I watched, they have a documentary on it on Netflix, I believe.
Oh, cool.
The real case.
Cool.
Yeah, there's a documentary. It's either a docuseries or a most of them seem to be docuseries now, but
nice.
But yeah, they have one. I forget what the title is, but you can watch I would suggest to watch the real one.
Okay.
To the show, because that's why I'm excited about it. I'm excited to see what they do with it.
Oh, great.
Very cool.
We'll check it out.
What about you, John? What are you excited about?
Ooh. This is corny, but I think I'm gonna say, well, two. Handmaid's Tale, because I think it's the last one, and I've just
That's gonna be great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And last season was like a season where you finally, because prior to that, I would always have to like watch a comedy immediately after because it just destroys you. But last season, I felt like you had moments where you could cheer for the character. And that was exciting to me. So I'm looking forward to that. And I'm looking forward to another one that's the last of the season, and that's What We Do in the Shadows.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
it's a shame that that's ending. That's right.
But sometimes it's best that they end on a high note, on a strong.
True.
Than dragging it out. Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes the shows just because there's shows like Nip Tuck that I used to love, and then I didn't watch like probably the last 3 or 4 seasons because it went so long. The same happened to me with The Walking Dead.
Right.
Some shows just go on and on and on, and so while I'll miss it, it's probably a good thing.
Hello?
Hello?
Nicholas.
Is he frozen?
He's frozen.
Yeah, he can't be in there.
It's his turn now. Nick, can you hear us?
Nick, what shows are you excited for?
Yes, Nick. We want to know immediately.
Boy.
So I'm with you on The Handmaid's Tale. I kind of forgot. I did that slipped my mind that the last season, which like they say, I'm with you. I think it might be the last season. I've read all of those Margaret Atwood stories, and I loved it. I was very kind of turned off when I found out that. What's the star? Oh, I'm so sorry.
She's a Scientologist.
Yes. that freaked
That's
me.
very disappointing.
I was like, oh my gosh.
Agreed.
Really? And I wonder if Margaret Atwood knew that about her when she was hired. Because she was on an advisory for the whole thing.
Right. Yeah.
Maybe she's
Elizabeth Moss.
That's right, Elizabeth Moss.
Yeah. She is so. I think her best acting is in the quiet moments.
Yes, she really conveys a lot with her eyes and her body language, sure.
She just gives the look, and you're like, that's acting.
Did you by chance see the original movie with Natasha Richardson?
No, from like
you need to see it, John.
Okay.
So it's so good. Elizabeth McGovern is in it, and she plays the lesbian character, and it's just really, really good. And Faye Dunaway's in it.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Nick,
Robert
we don't
Duvall.
need you anymore. We're taking over.
Yeah, we're good. Well, we've moved on. Okay, we're ready.
Gave me a sad face, and it said that it had to restart. So.
We're good.
So what shows are you looking forward to?
So what I'm most excited about, I'm 99% sure it's coming out in 2024 because a trailer came out for it, is the next season of Interview with the Vampire.
Oh, that'll be good.
I haven't watched it yet.
Yeah, I like it.
So I'm an Anne Rice fan for sure, but the first season, usually you're scared when they go different, when they change the source material, but the biggest thing that they did is they upped the timeline of it. So, for example, the beginning of the first Interview with the Vampire was like 1820s, 1840s or so in Louisiana. This time they changed it to like the 1920s, and they make Louis black. So he's like a pimp living in New Orleans with like fancy old school cars and stuff. And the idea of making him black made it so different because he's wealthy, but he's still not allowed to be part of like the overall culture. And it was just so wonderful, and I'm just really excited about season 2 because that adaptation was incredible.
And you know what's neat is that is fairly historically correct for the French Quarter at that time in the 1920s, because that was a very affluent area for the gens de couleur, as they called them, or people that were mixed, or most of them had a proper education for the time, and were able to open businesses and do those things. So I thought that part was cool, that they did keep it historically correct as they moved it on.
Nice.
You sound a little low, Nick. Your volume.
Oh, sorry. I can turn that up. I apologize.
Oh, there you go.
So the one thing that was a huge tease about the first season is they split that book in half. So the first season was just the first half of the book, all the way up until they escaped from Louis and moved to France. And that's where season 2 is going to start, with them meeting the other vampires in France.
He and Claudia, right?
Sorry, yeah, Louis and Claudia. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
All right, so let's move on to movies that got no love. So starting with you, John, what is something that you really liked this year that either got bad reviews or nobody gave a shit about, and you don't know why no one's talking about it? I guess that's better. A movie that you don't know why no one is talking about.
I didn't write that one down. A movie that... You go first, Christopher, and let me think.
Okay. So a movie that I loved, that I think a lot of people did not, or when I've mentioned it to others, they've kind of like, ooh, is Foe, F-O-E.
Okay.
Yeah, it's with the actress, the Irish actress, Saoirse Ronan.
Oh, I love her.
She's terrific, and she is. I mean, it's a very dystopian kind of thriller mixed with a little bit of a love story. So I liked it because I like those kind of dystopian movies. But this one person is chosen. She's given the choice to leave her husband and go on to another planet so she can help, kind of keep things going. And they've kind of left people behind who they did not think were worthy or smart enough to create a new civilization. Oh, it was interesting. Yeah. Foe, F-O-E.
Okay.
Not P-H-O, not P-H-O, but F-O-E.
Well, that would be Fa.
That's right. Fa.
Mine would be Monica. And I just recently watched it. It's a movie, and I only knew of it because of an article or something. And it's a movie about a trans woman going back home to care for her dying mother, but her mother has never seen her in that version of herself.
Oh, right. I saw the trailer for that earlier in the year.
And it's Tracy Lysette is the main actress, who happens to be trans. And Patricia Clarkson plays the mom, who I love. She's always great.
I do too. She's great.
Yeah, and it's very much like a character study. It's a very slow paced, a lot of quiet moments of, or her on the phone, or her contemplating if she's going to call this person. And of course there's emotional scenes and dialogue and everything, but it's a very quiet movie. It also has the girl that played the girlfriend that couldn't die in God's oh geez, what's the one with all the gods?
Oh, you're not just talking about Hayden Panettiere in Heroes.
No. It's I can't think of his name, the author.
The
American Gods.
No.
American Gods.
Oh. Oh.
The girl that plays the girlfriend in that, she's in it and she's excellent as well. It's a cast of maybe like 5 or 6 people. It's a small, intimate movie. And again, like if I hadn't popped came across it in that article, I wouldn't have
known about it. Yeah.
Even within like LGBTQ circles, like I hadn't heard about it.
I only heard about it briefly, and I think it was an article. I'm not sure if it was in Watermark or where I read about it, but it looks great.
Apparently, at I think at Cannes or something, one of the festivals where it premiered, they had like an 11-minute standing ovation.
Right.
The main character, Monica, her acting is just impeccable, and it's somebody who I believe she was in what was the one with Judith Light, and there was a series that there was controversy because it was a hetero cis male who played the trans lead character, but
what was it
she
called?
was in that show.
You know Judith Light. Yeah, Judith Light's great.
Yeah.
By chance, did anyone get to see La Eminstia? And I'm probably pronouncing it incorrectly. That was the Italian movie done with Penelope Cruz this year.
Oh.
And
it was what you're talking about.
Yeah, it sparked my memory. It is about a woman who is a mother of 3, and the oldest daughter is like 13 and has always felt like she's a boy. And it takes place in the mid-1970s in Rome, and they're from a rich industrialist family. Her mother, Penelope Cruz, is very sympathetic and understands. But the father, of course, wants the child to fit in and be a girl and be a debutante. And it's very good. I loved it. And that was a movie I don't think got a lot of credit here. And I actually I think it played at the Greenlight. I don't know, maybe just once or twice or something. But we loved it.
So, like, I didn't get a chance to see Ferrari, but in that, Penelope Cruz also plays an Italian woman. And in the trailer, it did not sound like an Italian accent at all. So, did she do better in this one?
Her lisp is her Castilian lisp is very hard to disguise. And in this one, too, again, I don't know, when she says ciao, it's like a ciao.
No.
You know, have you guys ever thought of this? Remember when she was dating Tom Cruise? If she had married Tom Cruise, what would she have been called?
Right.
She would have been called Penelope Cruz.
Yeah.
How hideous would that be?
You know, she's definitely great in the Almodovar movies.
Totally.
Yeah.
She just, and it's funny that like she can play Italian and nobody's like up in arms. And
right.
That's a whole other
thing.
Yeah. But people were like crazed about what's his name in Maestro because of his nose or something.
Bradley Cooper. Yeah, Bradley Cooper just wore the prosthetic.
And it's like, well, they're trying to make him look like the person.
And he did. Yeah, they did a good job with that.
And if the thing is, if they hadn't done that, then people would have been like, "Oh, he wasn't that handsome." He didn't look like Bradley Cooper. You know what I mean? Like,
well, but speaking of that, it's hilarious to know, like, Bradley Cooper played the Elephant Man on stage with no makeup. So the whole time, if you see clips of it, it looks like he's making fun of disabled people out of context.
Well, I was going to say out of context because theater's a whole different beast, and there's the suspended.
But I know there's a tradition of playing the Elephant Man without makeup, but I think that probably scared him into wanting to do the makeup. I don't know. Just a thought.
Oh, for Maestro?
Yeah.
Was it his idea?
I don't know, but we saw
it was a good choice. It was excellent makeup.
Yeah, it was great. We saw an interview on Jane Pauley on Sunday morning, and she interviewed Leonard Bernstein's children. They felt that he really looked like their dad. And the prosthetic nose, they asked if it bothered them or did it happen. She said, "Oh, it didn't bother us at all. You know, he that's what his nose was." So,
well, we're in a day and age where people want to get mad about other people's issues.
For sure.
You know,
for sure. I agree with that.
They really do.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Well, I mean, that reminds me of this. I have a book that's written by Doug Bradley, the actor who played Pinhead in the Hellraiser movies. It's called Behind the Mask of the Horror Actor. And it's about the history of the, I guess, tradition of losing yourself into a mask and how that allows you to get rid of the id and focus on the character you're developing. So I wouldn't say that's a crutch, but that's a tool that makes it maybe easier for you to play an existing character.
Sure, to get into it, for sure. I can see that.
If you look in the mirror and don't see yourself.
Like if I were playing somebody with a disability or something, I would think that having some sort of constricting garment or something would be helpful.
Right.
To, you know, to be like, no, I can't move the way that I normally do. And that would be helpful in developing that character. So.
All right, well, let's move on. We're getting way ahead of ourselves. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen because I think that's what's making my computer cry. So for movie that got no love, I'm going to call out a movie that was actually my number 2 on my top 10 of the year, and that is Cassandra on Amazon Prime. I adored that movie. It is starring Gael Garcia Bernal, who's an incredible actor. And I know nothing about lucha libre wrestling, except my grandfather was a wrestler called the Red Tornado back in the 60s. He was a Cuban guy wrestling in Mexico. But this movie tells the true story of Cassandro, what they call exotico, the gay wrestlers who would usually just get beaten up by the celebrity wrestlers. And he develops a following, develops a character that everybody loves, and then people start cheering for him. The movie it's beautifully shot. It's very still cameras, very shallow depth of field, very dramatic, like sodium lighting. And it's really mostly about a character who has basically just learns who he is, decides he wants to be something bigger than himself, and everybody kind of gets enthralled with the energy he puts out into the stage. And it's just that slow development of like gaining confidence, and it's just a very exciting movie, and the ending made me cry. And it was nice to see it's nice to see an LGBT story that ends happily. So.
It's nice to it's very cathartic. Like, I love a good crier. Like, yeah.
I thought Gail did a wonderful job portraying Cassandra. And again, I agree with you on the cinematography. Like in the back room, dressing room scenes, it all looks so realistic and just like they had just walked into some dump and borrowed it, you know, that had not been prepped and propped and all that. And I enjoyed Cassandra.
That's on my list. I haven't seen it.
I liked it.
Yeah. But that's an A24 movie, is it not?
No.
No,
it's a Prime original. So
I
think they produced it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I was going to say,
all right.
You rarely go wrong with A24.
Yeah. Beef was A24. That was their first series, I want to say. And I did not see that Home Improvement thing, The Curse. I believe that's also A24. But that's on my to-do list. Anyways.
I wasn't in, as much as I love Emma Stone, The Curse, again, it was one of those movies, series I had to go back to each time. And like, I don't know. It just got very boring to me. I love the storyline, but I think I would have enjoyed it as a book.
Mm-hmm. All right, so let's move on to most shocking moment. John, let's start with you. What's the most shocking moment you saw in a movie in 2023?
When evil lurks.
Oh, that was mine, you bastard.
When evil lurks. I also think it's like a movie that hasn't gotten it has gotten love in the horror community, but this filmmaker is so good. Like, you know, it's one of those. It's there's like horror flicks and horror movies, and then there's horror films. Is the way I look at it, where they're just the quality. You know, like when you go back to movies like The Witch. If that movie had come out at a different time, I mean, it had everything that qualifies the movie for nominations. You know, like
I love The Witch.
Oh, it's a beautiful movie and creepy as hell, but beautiful. But yeah, When Evil Lurks, that moment, and I'm rarely shocked because I.
So which moment? Because there's a lot of shocking moments in that movie.
So okay, am I allowed to say it? I don't want to.
Yeah, we'll spoil it.
All right, the dog moment.
Even if we spoil it, it's still going to be. Oh, that one. Okay, I picked a different one.
Oh no, the dog moment when the whole scene is going kind of like in the background. In the foreground is the little girl sitting under the table, she's just petting the dog. But you're like, that's not what matters here. It's the fight. It's the fight back there. And that dog just chomps onto her and just
shakes
rattles. Her. Yes. I think that's the main thing about it. And then drags her through the damn neighborhood. That was my like Hereditary head chopping moment this year. Like
that was, and it was so wonderfully filmed too. It looked so realistic.
Yes.
And like, you know, movies in Argentina are not working with the same budgets that movies in America are.
Exactly.
And so it's all the more impressive.
Yeah.
So for me, the most shocking moment of When Evil Lurks was at the end, when they go to try and find the other kid that's been kidnapped, and they just see his mother walking down the street, holding him in one arm with his top of his head off, and just like reaching in there, eating it like jujubes.
Yeah,
love that.
Yum.
What about you, Christopher? What's the most shocking moment you saw in a movie?
The most shocking moment, it would have to be shocking and yet disappointing, and
okay.
would be the film Leave the World Behind with Julia Roberts. The end, I was like, what the hell? I mean, really?
We're gonna fight.
I mean, I got the whole movie, but I'm like, oh, there you go. That was mine. That was mine. Yeah. Did you all see
it? It made perfect sense because like, what else are you gonna do? And I guess I'll talk more about it later because I have it under like movies people didn't get and stuff like that. Right. But I don't know. For me, it worked. I know a lot. It was a very divisive ending.
Yes.
Very polarizing for sure.
Yeah.
Well, again, that's my Netflix blind spot for the year. So I totally missed that one.
It's definitely a must-see, though.
Yeah, I would agree.
Definitely a must-see.
Okay. So, Representation Award. This is movies that you feel kind of showed off a culture or something that didn't normally get the Hollywood treatment, and so you kind of appreciate it for opening the world up to that universe. So, starting with you, Christopher, what movie would you give the Representation Award to?
So, I would have to say Killers of the Flower Moon. I don't think that that's a part of history that a lot of people know about. And I don't really think that people understand all of that. And I think it kind of showed it in a different light than what they might have been taught or what they might have been led to believe, even in those areas in Oklahoma, that part of the world. So I would think that one would be it. I loved Lily Gladstone.
She was wonderful.
Yeah.
And what about you, John? Representation Award.
I'm going to go with Monica because just the fact that, the character was portrayed by an actual trans actress.
That's wonderful.
And because I understand like that whole debate. We should have trans people play trans people. But I also understand it's getting better. Like when that debate started, it was like, yes, but at the same time, it's all about money and, and bringing people in to fill those seats. and it's hard to have a movie, be a hit with like no names.
Right.
And so my whole thing was like, well, would you rather the story not be told at all, or that it be told with respect by an actor who, appreciates and delves into the culture, and that's how I saw it. Because some of these movies that in the past, if they did not have, like, if it didn't have Hilary Swank or voice over, they probably wouldn't have been made. You know what I mean? If they couldn't get
I see what you're saying.
And she was. I'm happy that they were told.
Right.
But just the fact that we're in a day and age where this can happen, that would be my representation pick.
Good. I like that.
Right on.
For me, I'm picking a documentary. I don't watch a lot of documentaries just because the way I review movies, I rate them on writing, directing, and acting, and that kind of leaves blank spaces in my spreadsheet. But I am going with Little Richard, I Am Everything.
It was great.
There was a lot of drama in Little Richard's life, and it was interesting too to see. I say it as if it's like a film, but it's a documentary. But it's interesting to see the story of someone who constantly struggled with their sexuality.
Sure.
Between finding Jesus and rejecting it, and then accepting it, and then rejecting it,
rationalizing it.
And it's just, I guess it's, I don't know if, I'm not a gay man, so I don't know if that helps, but I guess it does show people that it's maybe not all cut and dry, that there are difficulties that even the most proud people can find.
Of course.
I thought that was a pretty useful example.
We just saw it, we loved it.
Yeah. And plus it was also nice seeing kind of a little bit into the world of what rock and roll was like touring in the South and the Chitlin circuit.
Right.
So
yeah.
I gotta say Netflix has also, I don't know, is that one on Netflix?
It's on Max, I think is where I watched
Max. It. Okay. Because Netflix has this year quite a few great documentaries about Black culture and like Black models and Black, like just how they influence the beauty industry and all of that. So it's good to see that these stories are being told. Yeah.
Speaking of it, John, was it you who posted on Facebook today about Marina Abramovich is now selling makeup?
Oh, well, not makeup. She's selling skincare. And my whole thing is like, it just seems to me like it's a whole like that's a whole part of the performance, like she's
I guess so.
Playing a trick on beauty consumers,
Well, I mean, if I was given the opportunity to shell a product, I would do it like that. So
it's not a criticism. My whole thing was like, what do you think? Do you think she's just really interested in this, or do you think that this is a larger than life performance, a performance that
I think it can be both, because if you're a performance artist, there's only so many ways you can make money. So,
well, a friend of mine said maybe she's thinking about retirement because what's the 401k for performance artists?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Limited. Each item, each serum or whatever is limited to, I think, 8,000.
All right.
There you go.
I mean, I guess
in the past.
Well, that makes sense.
She sold a self-help thing in the past, where you would get these like flashcards, and some of them were like, drink a glass of water as slowly as you can, walk backwards with a mirror. Like that's all they were.
Right.
I guess people bought them because it's
it's an idea.
I think.
At what point are you?
Incredible.
It's like, well, at what point are you no longer going to consider yourself a performance artist? You're someone who makes products and sells them, which there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
All right, so let's go into the next category, movies you didn't get. So starting with you, Christopher, what is a movie that everybody raved over and you just didn't care for?
Well, on that one, there were, I would have to say Barbie. I just didn't.
Oh.
I just did not. I mean, I understood it, but again, I wasn't hyped about it. I wasn't into it, and yeah, it wasn't for me.
Okay. I mean, then again, not every movie's for every person.
Right.
So.
It just wasn't. It wasn't. I mean, so many people loved it. My husband loved it. He thought, it was definitely a comedic movie, and I just didn't like it. Yeah, I didn't get it. So.
All right. What about you, John?
I don't know if we can curse, but
go for it.
Okay, fucking Skinamarink. Skinamarink pissed me the fuck off, and I committed because it's very easy to click that movie off, but I'm like, no, something's gonna give here, something's gonna happen.
Did you see it at home or in the theater?
I saw it at home. If I had been at the theater, I would have burnt it down.
I saw it in the theater.
If I had spent ticket money on that, oh my God, I would have been furious.
I saw it in the theater, and there were some great moments, but they were kind of hidden amongst the not great moments.
They were very well hidden.
Yeah. Like they ask a lot of their audience before they can actually deliver anything exciting to you. Like I love the kind of towards the end when the little girl finds her parents in the bedroom sitting on the bed, and they tell her to like come look under the bed, and she doesn't want to. I thought that was horrifying, but that only makes sense because you've been watching just static in the dark for the last 2 hours, so something is happening, so that's exciting.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, there's
a lot of yeah, that's true. But I know, like with Skinamarink, they say it's either you loved it or you hated it, and I was kind of in the middle. I hated most of it, but I loved the parts that were worth loving. So I guess both.
I think the no dialogue thing is very, very difficult to pull off. No one. What is it? No one will.
No one will save you.
That was a great use of. I think there's only like, I forget, you can count how many words are in it.
Yeah. I don't think there are any.
There's like a handful. But at no moment did I feel like, oh, come on, like it just
what's happening,
moving, and it kept me engaged. This one, I could not.
It had a lot of dialogue, but Skinamarink had a lot of dialogue, but it's like children, and they're very quiet and mumbly. It's hard enough to understand what children are. So I did appreciate that they had subtitles in the movie, because I don't like children, and I don't understand when children talk.
I think it's the movie that gave me the least since the Blair Witch Project. But at least the Blair Witch Project had a pretty scary last 5 minutes.
It did.
Yeah. All right, so for me, the movie that I didn't get was The Boy and the Heron. I feel like people were just obsessing over that movie just because it's supposedly the last film from Miyazaki. But I thought the storyline was a mess. The last line of the movie was really stupid. It's the little boy, after this huge grand adventure, he says, "We moved to Tokyo a year later." Credits. I'm like, why? What was... Huh? That had nothing to do with anything we just saw. It's such a weird note to end on. And I thought the drawings were good. The animation was pretty choppy. It was like a fifth of Spirited Away in quality, if you could quantify the quality of it.
If you could go there.
I feel like Spirited Away is the height of Studio Ghibli and Miyazaki. I don't think The Boy and the Heron is a good place to end a career on. People still obsessed with that movie, and I just did not care for it. All right, so let's talk about movie they didn't get. So starting with you, John, what is something that you loved that got really bad reviews?
Okay, well, I have two. And one is not because I loved it. I'm going to say Skinamarink, because I feel like anybody who says it's brilliant, they just didn't fucking get it, and they feel like there's something about it. And it's artsy, so it must be brilliant. But I'm going to say Leave the World Behind because of so many, not because of the ending being divisive, but because I saw so many people post about like, Well, it didn't give me any answers about anything. And what was with the deer? And what was with the this? And I'm like, for me, that was the whole point. That if that happened in that moment, you wouldn't have it. You wouldn't know what the fuck was going on. So to give answers, I think would take away from the point of the movie. They were in the middle of something that was happening. And if it were us right now, we wouldn't have any clue. If there was no TV to tell us, if there was no, we would have to assume. And, there were things like the migratory patterns were changing. And I even thought, like, is that why she decided to get away at the last minute? Like, it was an impromptu, let's just go away.
Right.
And, was that like it's kind of spreading to humans, how we decide to go places? And I mean, I thought the answers were there where they needed to be, but I thought that a lot of it was meant to not be answered because you're supposed to be in that kind of confusion of the moment. So I feel like a lot of people miss that about it because people like movies explained.
Okay.
There you go.
I do like a movie that, I guess a better way to say it is I don't like when movies give things to the audience that the audience shouldn't have, or it's unnatural for the characters to discuss it. Like when someone says, as you know, this is your last day or before retirement. It's like nobody would say that to another character. Right. So I love movies where, like, as the audience, you have to really pay attention to like catch up with the characters. So it seems like I would like that movie once I
think you would. I think you would. It's very well made, and well, you'll have to let us know what you think of the ending. Are you Team John or Team Christopher?
I'm not Christopher. So what is a movie they didn't get? Something that you liked that got bad reviews?
I think it got very mixed reviews. There were some really bad ones, and then there were some that were good. And it could be just because people about it or whatever. Was May December. I got the movie. I understood it, but I had many people say to me, "What? I mean, what was that? Like, did she believe in what? Did she think it was okay that the Julianne Moore's character had done this and lived that life?" And I was like, "No, she's an actress, but she was there, and she had a different view of it after she had studied her and been with her." And I think a lot of people lost that point of the movie, but I thought it was a great movie. I got it. It was easy, but a lot of people walked away from it and they're like, "Huh, okay."
Okay. Again, Netflix blind spot for me, but I have heard good things from a lot of actresses that I do love. That's my fault. That's my fault.
I don't know how many
so they both did a wonderful job in it.
Yeah, yeah, and I don't know how many people remember the Mary Lou Letourneau.
A lot of people don't, and I think it was mainly my younger friends and younger people I know that were like, "Oh,
it's like, no, this really happened. Actually, like this is fictionalized."
And a lot of people forget too that she's now dead.
Yeah,
Marianne. Yeah, she's gone. So a lot of people kind of forget that.
And that he was by her side when she passed.
Totally, he totally stuck with her, and he always did.
I think what it is too is that it's an uncomfortable
Yeah.
in the fact that they actually had a marriage that worked for many years, and that it makes us uncomfortable because it was statutory rape.
Right.
So we don't expect things like that to work out, like
totally.
That's it's yucky, like.
Sure. Like, ew.
I mean, that was also my biggest problem with Poor Things. Is that it's about basically a toddler having a sexual awakening.
Right. Right.
So that's a conversation for when we get to the nominations. So a movie, for me, the movie that they didn't get is Mafia Mama. That movie got terrible reviews, but it was so much fun.
I love
Collette inherits a mafia, or she has to become a mafia don, but she's just like a soccer mom. It was so silly, so fun, such a delight. It was like, and I love how I love how the movie comments on itself, because Toni Collette, she goes to Italy expecting to have an Under the Tuscan Sun moment. She keeps specifically saying that, like, I'm here to have my Under the Tuscan Sun moment. But no, she's got to deal with this shootout, or no, she's got to deal with this assassination attempt. It was really silly and really fun.
It was fun.
Anything Toni Collette has my heart.
Totally. Yes. Totally. Muriel!
I'm still mad that she wasn't even nominated for Hereditary. Still mad.
Yeah.
I know. That was a wonderful performance.
It's good.
Anyways, well, she gave you like five. You know, when you watch a movie, Barbie, for example, it's like, because I was telling Ron, I'm like, you know, like, I remember America Ferrera in it, but I don't remember her in the way that garners an Oscar nomination. And he was like, oh, it was her speech. Yeah. And I was like, that's right. She had this big speech. So in movies, a lot of times you see a scene and you're like, that's where she's nominated. Mm-hmm. You know, that's going to get him that nomination. And Toni Collette had like 5 of those in Hereditary. Mm-hmm. And one of them, she wasn't even on screen.
Hereditary was so good.
Yeah. It's like, but anyway.
Well, I think it's just in general, the Academy doesn't care about horror films. So.
No.
Yep.
But how pretty and well directed do we have to make them for them to care about them? You know what I mean? Right. We're not talking about regular 80s slasher anymore. Like, these are like beautifully done films now, a lot of them. Or maybe I think The Exorcist
was the last horror film to win Best Picture, unless Get Out got one, but I don't think that was Best Picture.
Get Out was one screenplay.
Yeah.
What was the one you said? I think Silence of the Lambs?
The Exorcist was the last horror movie to win
I think
Best
Silence
Picture.
of the Lambs, if you consider it horror.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's right.
And they both won.
Anyways, so this last category, Best Bad Movie, I had this idea as I was going through my list and taking a look at what was on the bottom of it. And there was one movie that was terrible, but I really want to rewatch it. That movie I'm going to call out first is Spinning Gold, which is a biopic about, I forgot his name, but the guy who created, I should have done some research. I saw it in like January. It's a biopic about the guy who created the record company that had Donna Summer and Kiss and Parliament and
Casablanca Records.
Yes, Casablanca Records.
Neil from Casablanca Records.
Yeah. So the movie is really bad. It's like everyone's wigs. You can see their hair beneath the wig.
Oh, no.
And the makeup is terrible. Everybody is overacting everything. It feels a lot like Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox story, in that it's like making fun of biopics, but it doesn't realize it's making fun of biopics.
Okay.
But the movie has wonderful musical performances from impersonators who look nothing like the musicians they're impersonating, but vocally they're fantastic. Like the Donna Summer impersonator does a great vocal performance, but she looks nothing like Donna Summer.
That's funny.
And the movie's just full of unnecessary cameos, like, oh, there goes that guy, and it's so dumb, but it's really fun. It's like The Room level nonsense.
I like anything of that era too. You know, it was like American Hustle. That was a super fun movie. Even though it had a background story and everything, it was still that era. So it's cool.
Well, like I saw it because I had free time. I'm like, oh, I can go to the movies this afternoon and let's see what's playing. And I read the description, didn't see a trailer or a poster or anything. I'm like, oh, this sounds fun. And that was an adventure of a terrible film. But I do want to rewatch it or listen to the soundtrack at least to hear covers of these great songs. All right, what about you, John? What was the worst movie that you had a lot of fun with?
Cocaine Bear.
It's a good one.
Yeah.
It's so delicious. And you can't really, I want to say that it's bad on purpose, but maybe because I like Elizabeth Banks is her name, I think.
Love her, yeah.
Yeah. Didn't she direct it?
Yes, she did.
Yes, I think it was her baby, that project.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's so out there, stupid.
totally entertaining and fun to watch.
Entertaining. I was so entertained.
And then the fact that it's based on a true story, so I think that's great. A lot of people that saw it didn't really realize that.
Yeah.
I think the movie was very hit or miss. Like the ending was just a dark, muddy mess, lighting wise. But I really loved the scene of like when the cop is on the top of the gazebo and he's got the gun on the person and he can't figure out how to get off the gazebo and keep the gun on him. That was hilarious.
She's terrific. Yeah, she's terrific.
Yeah, and then the ambulance scene with was that Ann Dowd getting her face smashed on the road?
Oh, I think so. Yeah.
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 Yeah. So that was a fun movie, but it was not Elizabeth Banks's best directing performance.
No. Did anyone get a chance to ever see Call Jane with Elizabeth Banks? It's great. It was about a pro-choice activist from the 70s that was involved with a network. Sigourney Weaver is in it as well, and she's involved in a network of women that helped other women get to clinics and all of that. But she was great. She's kind of a little underrated, I think.
Yeah, I agree. Did she direct? I know she was in it. Did she direct the horror one that was like a Superman kind of story?
No, she didn't direct that one. I want to say that was, you're talking about Brightburn was the movie.
Yeah,
right, Brightburn.
Yeah, I don't.
Well, she was just in it.
Maybe she did. I mean, I could look it up. But I remember when Pitch Perfect 3 came out, she directed that, and at the time, it was the highest-grossing film ever directed by a woman, which just got beaten by Barbie.
Right? Yeah, of course.
And then I feel like after that movie, she was a little overrated because I don't think it was her directing that made Pitch Perfect 3 so successful. I think it was the fact that it was Pitch Perfect 3. But she kind of rolled that into Charlie's Angels, which was a huge flop. So.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But she may have directed Brightburn. You could be right.
I love Brightburn.
Well,
it was really fun.
It was. I think it was
so different.
I think that Brightburn was directed by a gentleman named David Yarovesky.
Oh.
Okay.
Yes. Yep. David Yarovesky.
Look it up before I did.
I did. But he's she was the main star, but didn't direct it. So.
Okay.
Yeah. I do want a sequel to Brightburn. If I remember correctly, the kid survives at the end.
I liked it. I liked Brightburn.
Yeah.
It's good.
I just like that it was such an odd subject for a horror film.
Sure.
I don't know that I've ever seen that kind of superhero origin story, blah, 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 in that context.
I mean, even without superpowers, children are horrifying to me.
Yeah. So,
Christopher, what about you? Best bad movie?
Mine would have to be Asteroid City. I mean, I found it. While I say it's the best bad, because there were so many great actors that were in it. It was costumed and styled beautifully. Maybe not so realistically, but there was a lot of visual treats in that. Especially with the home decor, and I sometimes get into movies like that. That's why everyone was like, "Oh, you'd love Barbie." But then I went and I was like, "Oh, I don't know why. This is not for me." But Asteroid City would have to be the best bad movie to me. And that
was almost my movie I didn't get.
Okay,
I agree. It had. I loved the stop motion alien. Taking that little doohickey, but overall I just didn't care about I thought he was being too cute with the actors performing the play, describing the movie, and I didn't care about any of the storylines that were all interwoven. I just felt like it was a huge drop off from the quality that was The French Dispatch.
Are you ready to paint your own canvas in the real estate world as a homeowner? It's Leslie Haas from Realty One Group Sunshine, and I'm here to talk home equity, your masterpiece in the housing market. Imagine owning a piece of property that's not just a place to call yours, but also an investment opportunity. It's time to take that brush and start creating equity in your dream home. With interest rates on the verge of dropping, get ahead of the curve and secure your artistic haven before the next rush. Whether you're a first-time homebuyer or upgrading your studio, let's sketch out your home ownership dreams together. To learn more, visit tampabayhomesforsale.realestate.
All right, so that's our banter. Went on for an hour and something. So let's go ahead now and take a look at the Oscar nominations. So the first one I want to go over is Best Director. And for directing, our nominations officially are Justine Triet in Anatomy of a Fall, Martin Scorsese for Killers of the Flower Moon, Christopher Nolan for Oppenheimer, Yorgos Lanthimos for Poor Things, and Jonathan Glazer for Zone of Interest. So starting with you, John, what do you think is going to win, and what do you think should win? What do you think deserves to win?
I think that Scorsese will probably win. And
do you think he deserves it?
Unfortunately haven't seen it yet, but I think he's going to win. But again, not having seen it, I'm going to say that he probably should win, just from the things that I hear about it.
Okay. All right. And what about you, Christopher?
So I really kind of think that Scorsese will win for Killers of a Flower Moon. I'm with that. And I kind of think he should. I think that there were so many different actors in it, level wise, and the length they've been in the business and all of that. And I think to maybe kind of pull all of them together and have to direct them in different ways. I mean, you know, you're going to be directing Robert De Niro way differently than you would be Lily Gladstone, but making it very believable too. And I thought it was good. I thought he should win.
So I'm going to go with the same thing too. Like, every scene looks like it took a lot of work to put together.
Yes.
Set designing, audio, music, making everything realistic and time accurate. It seems like he put a lot of effort into all of that. Sure. I think the biggest, the thing that's probably going to get the second most amount of votes is probably Oppenheimer, Christopher Nolan. Because that also, like, those scenes looked like they took a lot of work too, but most of it also felt like it was in the middle of a desert. Right. So maybe it's a little bit easier to pull that stuff off. I feel like a few people are going to be voting for Yorgos Lanthimos, but I don't think he's ever really going to be best director level because he's more story than production, even though this movie was very production heavy. But I agree, it's going to be Martin Scorsese. Plus, he's so old, people like to vote for old people.
Yeah, I think he should get it.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're all in agreement with Martin Scorsese is going to win best director. Next up, we've got Best Actor in a Leading Role. So our options are Bradley Cooper for Maestro, Coleman Domingo for Rustin, Paul Giamatti for The Holdovers, Cillian Murphy for Oppenheimer, and Jeffrey Wright for American Fiction. So, Christopher, who do you think's going to win? Who do you think should win?
So I think Cillian Murphy will win for Oppenheimer. However, I feel like Bradley Cooper should win for Maestro. I think there's just so much flack out there about him being nominated. And as well, you know, there's still people out there who knew Leonard Bernstein very well, that some on the Academy, part of the Academy, and those things do come into play when they're voting too. So that's my take on it. I love Cillian Murphy. I think he's great. I thought his role to me wasn't that challenging. It was kind of the same throughout the movie. So I think he'll win though.
Yeah. I think to agree with that, I feel like Cillian Murphy, a lot of his acting, I'm not an actor, but but I feel like a lot of his acting was just him being quiet and looking around a lot with his big
He's got
eyes.
those giant eyes, and he's just like, I'm Cillian Murphy. Yeah.
What about you, John? What about you? Who do you think's going to win, and who do you think should win?
I think that, I mean, Christopher's probably right, but if I was going to say that a dark horse pulls, I think like Paul Giamatti could maybe pull it as a surprise win. I agree that I think Bradley Cooper should win, but I would also love to see Jeffrey Wright win because he's fantastic, and I don't think he gets enough.
He is great.
It's like every couple of years, you're like, oh, it's Jeffrey Wright. I love him. You know what I mean? Like, and I don't know. I know he's been nominated in the past, but I don't know that he's received that much award season love overall compared to other actors. But I do agree. I think Bradley should win.
So it's interesting that 2/5 of the nominees are Black Americans. So that's good to see. I know people love Coleman Domingo. I have never heard of the movie Rustin. So I don't think anyone's going to be voting for him. I don't think anyone's seen that movie.
Right.
A lot of people like Jeffrey Wright, but not enough to push the needle. And I think a lot of people are just annoyed at how much Bradley Cooper wants it. Because I understand he's been like very heavy with the push and the marketing push, and so's Netflix.
Campaigning for it.
Yeah.
Well, I also think that they're like also probably like, oh, well, a black guy won last year, so we did good. We can skip a couple of years now.
Yeah.
Probably.
Well, I feel like the Academy is each year the bulk of the Academy gets younger because old people die and younger people come in. So I feel like in general that's maybe not. It's less of a block making decisions. I don't know if that makes any sense, but
No, it makes
anyways, I think it's going to be Paul Giamatti because I mean, like the Holdovers is I feel like the kind of movie that Academy voters love because it's nostalgic for when they were kids.
Right.
And
it's a great movie. I loved it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think Paul Giamatti did his best acting in it. He did his best Paul Giamatti impression.
Right.
So,
right.
And I think it'd be fun for him to win. I don't really care if Cillian Murphy wins. I don't really care if Jeffrey Wright wins. I don't care if Bradley Cooper wins or Coleman. But I think Paul Giamatti winning just kind of gives everyone something to smile about.
Makes me think I could do it too.
Right?
Yeah, I guess.
Well, I mean, that could be the feeling with that. Yeah, you know, with other people.
Yeah.
He is that kind of guy.
I'm just always reminded of, I think it was 2 years ago when Anthony Hopkins won for Best Actor in The Father, and everybody expected it to be Black Panther. And so that was just the most awkward, uncomfortable ending to the Academy Awards ever. Mm-hmm. And it was a movie that nobody saw because it like showed up a week before the year ended.
I saw it.
Yeah, was it good? Was it Oscar-worthy performance?
The Father, yeah. And you know, and I think Olivia Colman was such a big draw for that movie too, because you know she had won just like what was it 2 years before? Maybe she had won Best Supporting for The Favorite. Playing Queen Anne. But yeah, I thought he was great. I thought he did a good job.
All right. So let's talk about actress in a leading role. So our nominees were Annette Bening in Naiad, excuse me, Lily Gladstone in Killers of the Flower Moon, Sandra Hüller in Anatomy of a Fall, Carey Mulligan in Maestro, and Emma Stone in Poor Things. Starting with you, John, who do you think is going to win and who do you think should win?
I think Lily Gladstone's going to win. It's been like a pretty consistent. I would love to see Carey Mulligan win.
Me too.
I feel she was so spot on.
Yep.
I was like, I remember like somebody was like, oh, Fantasia got robbed at the Golden Globes. And I was like, did you see Maestro?
Yeah.
They were like, well, did you see Color Purple? I was like, of course I saw Color Purple. Fantasia was great, but right. I'm like, I would be so Carey Mulligan win. And she just has a really strong, consistent body of work. Like Promising Young Woman, I thought she would be nominated for that.
I love that. Yeah. She was great.
I really was like, she's getting nominated for this. There's no way. And I do think she got nominated for some things, but I don't think for an Oscar, if I remember correctly. But
right.
But in any case, she didn't win if she was. But yeah, I would love to see. I think Lily will win, and I would love to see Carey.
So that's where, not to jump the gun, was I going to be next?
No, go for it, yeah. No, yeah, go for it,
yeah. So I feel like Lily Gladstone will win. I think the time is right. The timing for her is right. Some people don't even know who she is. Maybe people who don't watch movies, and she's really great. She's really great in the movie, but I would really like to see Carey Mulligan win as well. I thought her portrayal in Maestro was so realistic, and how she dealt with everything. And I like how she's always able to transform herself into something different. Some people were like, oh, she's too young to have been his wife. And I'm like...
One other thing when you're talking about the relationship, one other thing that I loved was that it's almost more hinted than... because there was little, like, at the party, and how it was almost like this little club of women who married bi or gay men.
Right.
That was interesting to me. It was like this weird, not weird, but this wives club that had made certain choices in life.
And they were,
for whatever reason.
And they knew about it with each other and were kind of accepting of it. They were accepting of it, and they kind of had a little bit of sympathy for each other, too.
Right. Yeah.
That's why I really think she should win, but I think that this year she won't. If that movie had not been, Killers of a Flower Moon had not been out, maybe she would.
Yeah, agreed.
Or if Lily hadn't been nominated, maybe she would.
Right.
So I agree with both of you. I think Lily Gladstone is going to win. I just want to say that there's something about Carey Mulligan that I don't really like. It's just a lot of the characters she portrays is like, I'm better than you, and you're lucky enough to let me talk to you. And I kind of get that same thing from, I can't remember her name, but she was the mother in Powder, that actress, if anyone remembers the movie Powder. But anyways, it's
Powder.
Yeah, I took it back. But anyways, but I did like the woman. God, we just talked about it. The Carey Mulligan movie, Perfect Woman. No,
Sarah Silverstein.
No.
Oh, about the woman that seeks revenge for the death of her friend.
Yes.
The Promising Young Woman.
Yes, Promising
Young Woman.
Yeah, I think what was good about that movie was the directing by Emerald Fennell, not necessarily Carey Mulligan specifically. I think other people in that role probably would have done better. But again, that's just me not really caring for Carey Mulligan.
You're a Carey Mulligan hater. No.
Yeah.
No.
I thought she was completely useless in Saltburn. She had no reason to be in that movie.
I haven't watched it yet.
Oh, in Saltburn, yeah, that was kind of a pop-up role for her, and that character that just dies, and they don't really explain.
Yeah. Well, what about Emma Stone? Do you think she has a chance for Poor Things?
Oh, I don't think so. What about you, John? Do you? I mean, I love Emma Stone.
No, I don't even think she should have won for the dancing one, semi-musical.
Oh, La La Land.
Yeah. That movie, I hate it. Yeah.
I didn't like that.
I mean, I like her, but I just.
Yeah.
She's fine.
I think her best work was Superbad, but that was a while ago.
See her. I just don't see her on the level of some of these other actresses. She's like mid-tier for me. That's Carey Mulligan.
All right, so let's move on to Best Actor in a Supporting Role. So the nominees are... Did my computer just restart again? Are you still with me?
No.
We're with you, Nick.
You're here.
Good. All right. So actor in a supporting role. We've got Sterling K. Brown in American Fiction, Robert De Niro in Killers of the Flower Moon, Robert Downey Jr. in Oppenheimer, Ryan Gosling in Barbie, and Mark Ruffalo in Poor Things. John, let's start with you. Who do you think's going to win? Who do you think should win?
I kind of want Ryan Gosling to win after all this. I really do. I really do. And I do think he did a great job at, like, we forget that we tend to go with the dramatic a lot of times when awarding stuff. And we tend to forget that doing comedy right can be just as challenging.
And not everyone can do it either.
No.
They can't. It just doesn't work. Right. Doesn't work.
I think maybe Mark Ruffalo will win.
Oh, interesting. I thought he kind of overacts, but that's like his character.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if I see that one. What about you, Christopher?
So I do. I think that Ryan Gosling has a great shot at it. I think that he does have a good shot at winning this year. It was while I didn't like the movie, I know so many people did. And I think he definitely has a good chance at it.
Okay.
I like that, but I think that someone that was maybe a little under noticed would have been maybe Mark Ruffalo. Mm-hmm. He brings a lot of angst and, like you said, overacting. It's kind of a angst kind of thing.
I don't think Ryan Gosling necessarily wants it.
Uh-huh.
I say that based on him not going up to accept the award for I'm Just Ken at the Emmys.
Right.
So, or Golden Globes rather, sorry. So I feel like he knows that there is a conversation happening out there about like how the women from Barbie didn't get nominated, but he did. So I feel like he doesn't necessarily want it. I don't know if that's going to translate to him winning.
If he gets it, he gets to go up there and make a statement about it.
There you go.
That's true. Yeah.
I might want it just for that.
I just want it so I can watch him. I just want to watch it so I just want to see it so I can watch it. Yeah. Watch him.
Oh, what if he does a musical performance of I'm Just Ken during the Oscars?
Well, I guess if it's him, I can handle it.
I think Robert Downey Jr. is going to win because I feel like so many people have just felt the lack of Robert Downey Jr. in the Marvel movies that they're going to be like, this is what he should have won it for. He should have won it for Endgame, so we're giving it to him for Oppenheimer. Maybe that's my myopic view of being a fan of comic book movies, but I feel like a lot of people are going to be voting for him in like a proxy for Endgame. So, I think Robert Downey Jr. is going to win. All right, Best Actress in a Supporting Role. The nominees are Emily Blunt for Oppenheimer, Danielle Brooks for The Color Purple, America Ferrera for Barbie, Jodie Foster for Nyad, and Davine Joy Randolph for The Holdovers. Starting with you, Christopher, who do you think is going to win?
So, I think who is going to be a really good shot will be Jodie Foster. It has been she's never been nominated for an Oscar before.
Yes, she has. Jodie Foster? She won for Silence of the Lambs.
Did she?
She won Best Actress.
You could have sworn I read that she hadn't been nominated for an Oscar before. Huh.
No, she won for Silence of the Lambs, and she might have been nominated for Nell.
Well,
even though it's a stinky movie because she did all that, for Nell.
Well, she's never won. You sure?
I definitely know she won because that was Silence of the Lambs won Best Movie. It might have won Best Director for Jonathan Demme, Best Actor, and Best Actress. It was like a sweep, I remember.
I think that okay, so I'm hoping she does win. I think she will win, but I think it, maybe America Ferrera. I think that that would be a good thing if she did win, but I don't think she will.
No, I don't think so either.
So my choice is America Ferrera. I think she was the best part of Barbie. I think America, the country, has been in love with America Ferrera for a long time, since Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants. And I think people are going to be just excited to see her come up and win. And like, because they want Barbie to win something feminine, and I think
they also make. Are they still voting, or is it all done? No, because they just announced.
I have no idea.
Yeah, well, it also makes for probably like America Ferrera is the first Latina to win since Rita Moreno or something. Moment, okay.
Well,
they like moments. We love moments nowadays.
And a lot of people really they still love her from Ugly Betty.
Ugly Betty.
All of that.
Yeah.
All of that stuff.
What about you, John? Who do you think is going to win?
Okay. So I think that Davine's going to win. Okay. I think that I would love to see Danielle Brooks win, but what I think the real crime here is, even before putting Danielle Brooks, I would have put Taraji in, because I feel like Taraji's who brought life to that movie. Yes. And I don't know why she's been ignored and everything. I mean, Danielle did great. She really did. But Taraji was like, she just was shining on that screen. Everything about it.
And it kind of
she was my favorite
part. It pepped your attention span.
Yeah.
It did with me, for sure.
Yeah, she was my favorite part of that movie. So I think it's a shame that she's not on that ballot, to be honest.
Right.
I mean, like, if it had to be one or the other, I would have put her before Danielle Brooks. I think she did a lot more in that movie. Danielle had her moments, of course, but she was just a consistent light through that movie, and well played. She really played Suge very well.
Yes,
but I think that Davina is going to win.
It's totally unrelated to her acting skill. I lost respect for Taraji P. Henson when she couldn't make it past the third wing on Hot Ones.
Oh, jeez.
Okay, so I've got you down for. Oh, my computer's freezing again. I'm sorry.
Davine
Joy Randolph.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's move on to original screenplay. Our nominees are Anatomy of a Fall. That is written by Justine Triet and Arthur Harari. The Holdovers by David Hemmingson. Maestro by Bradley Cooper and Josh Singer. May December by Sammy Birch. Story by Sammy Birch and Alex Mechanic. And Past Lives by Celine Song. John, starting with you, who do you think, or which movie, rather, is going to win Best Original Screenplay?
Well, I'm a fan of Maestro. I think The Holdovers will win. I think it's the kind of movie that appeals in that category.
Mm-hmm. It did have some good writing, some good conversational and banter and stuff between the characters.
Yeah, I think they tend to like that when it comes to screenplay, versus the storytelling that I think screenplay often goes to the dialogue is awarded versus just everything else that's on the page. Do you know what I mean? Like the direction and all of that. So I think Holdovers will win.
What about you, Christopher? Thoughts on who's going to win?
I think Holdovers will win, but Anatomy of a Fall was a favorite of mine, and I think it was original for sure. It was a different story. It's a different story, and I think that it should win.
Okay.
I loved the holdovers. I loved the holdovers, and I do think it'll win. But I just think when I think of most original, because I think we've seen the holdovers portrayed in several other movies, such as, similar themes, such as Dead Poet Society, that kind of stuff. We've seen that in different movies.
Yeah.
So I think most original would be Anatomy of a Fall, to me.
No, it's a good point. Holdovers was a great screenplay, but it's not as original as other movies.
Right.
I'm going to put my vote down for Past Lives simply for that final line in the movie, which is, do you ever think maybe this is our past life? Because that just makes all the emotion well up, and I think they want to award that. And the fact that it's spoken in Korean and the translation still hits so hard in a subtitle, I think that's kind of an impressive feat. So I think that's why I think Past Lives might win original screenplay. And plus, it's also kind of a de facto win for the director of it, too, because she directed it and wrote it.
Right.
All right, moving to adapted screenplay. Our nominees are American Fiction, written for the screen by Cord Jefferson, Barbie by Greta Gerwig and Noah Baumbach, Oppenheimer by Christopher Nolan, Poor Things by Tony McNamara, and Zone of Interest by Jonathan Glazer. So, starting with you, John, what do you think is going to win Best Adapted Screenplay?
I think that American Fiction will win Best Adapted.
Oh. Okay.
I don't know what Barbie was adapted from.
I know. And
I know that was brought up by somebody, some actor or some direct. Oh, no. Apatow, I think, brought that up. I don't know what it was adapted. Like, is it adapted from a Barbie book, like a Barbie history text type book? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, that's a good point.
This wasn't a novel. This wasn't a play.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I know Oppenheimer's based on a biography.
Right.
Poor Things was based on a novel. I assume American Fiction's a novel.
Yeah, I'm wondering if what they're going off is like a textbook, like the Barbie book, with the history of Barbie,
like the production
kind of
Bible.
Thing.
Yeah.
I think American Fiction.
Yeah. You talked me out of Barbie being my guess too, so I think I'm also going with American Fiction. What about you, Christopher?
So I'm going to go with American Fiction as well. I think that it's going to be. I think people. I think they're going to see it's going to follow It followed the story so well, and I think when they say adapted, that's what it would be. It came from a novel, so there you go.
All right, so let's move on to animated feature film. The nominees are Boys and the Heron by Hayao Miyazaki, Elemental by Peter Sun and Denise Ream, Nimona by Nick Bruno, Tony Quain, Karen Ryan, Julie Zachary. I guess I don't have to say who directed them. Robot Dreams, and then Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. So starting with you, Christopher, who do you think is going to win animated feature film?
The Boy and the Heron. It was popular. It was a popular for animated movies that appeal to adults. I think that would be it.
Okay. I think you're right. It does have a very good chance of winning.
Mm-hmm.
Is it the one you want to win from that list? I don't know if you saw everything on the list or saw any number of those.
That's the only one I saw out of that list.
Okay. And John?
I haven't seen any from the list, but
That's fine.
I do think that The Boy and the Heron has a good chance. I was going to say Spider-Man, but didn't Spider-Man, not this one, but the first one already win a best animated film?
Yes, I do believe it did.
Yeah. I'm going to go with Boy and the Heron.
Okay. I am going to go with Spider-Man because that last one won, yes, but this one doubles down and improves upon all of the animation rules that the first one broke. So, like, you have scenes that are animated in watercolor, scenes that are animated like photocopies of things. It's like throws together so many different art styles and does so many things that have never been seen in animated films. I think if you're talking about like the quality of it, like some characters move at different frame rates than other characters because they come from different universes. So it does like a lot of things that a lot of people didn't even know were possible in animation. So I think in that regard, it has a really strong chance. That's where I'm putting my vote.
And Nick, we do know that you are a comic book lover. So yes, so Spider-Man is definitely your choice.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, and again, I just didn't really like Boy and the Heron.
Right, there you go.
All right, production design. We've got Barbie, Killers of the Flower Moon, Napoleon, Oppenheimer, and Poor Things. Starting with you, John, who do you think's going to win production design?
I want Barbie to win. I think Killers will win.
It's a tough choice. They're all gorgeous production designs. Mm-hmm. Okay. So you think Killers is going to win?
So delicious.
Yeah.
Like the whole Barbie world was just, it was like bubble gum.
It was visual.
Yeah.
Pretty visual.
And what about you, John? Sorry, Christopher.
So I think Napoleon. I think if it could win something, maybe I think that could be it. I think Napoleon.
I do feel, I see what you're saying. I think this is, I think if it was a better movie, I would feel more confident that people would be excited about it.
Yeah.
But that being said, I feel like the way that Scorsese like brings you into the world of Killers of the Flower Moon, like when it first starts and you see all this opulence in the middle of the desert, you see giant oil refineries, you see people taking photos and like it's showing it as like a vintage photo or whatever. I feel like that made the world feel so much more real than Napoleon did.
Right.
Even though like Napoleon had amazing production design, it just Killers of the Flower Moon felt more of like a feat of engineering to me.
Right.
So that's what my vote is.
So realistic. It was so realistic looking. Yeah.
All right, cinematography. We've got El Conde, Killers of the Flower Moon, Maestro, Oppenheimer, and Poor Things. So starting with you, Christopher, who do you think is going to win cinematography from that list?
I would have to say Killers of the Flower Moon probably will win that. But again, I'm going to have to do a should. It would be Maestro. I loved the cinematography in Maestro from where it took you from when he was a young guy, young kid guy, and it's in black and white, and then all of it some becomes color. But the shots were beautiful. And to know that it was actually filmed in Leonard Bernstein's own home, a big part of the movie, and the way they shot all of that, I kind of think it should win, but I'd have to go with Killers of the Flower Moon. That's what
John?
I think that Oppenheimer will win, but I also want Maestro to win.
Okay, that's a good one. I mean, Oppenheimer did have lots of like fun in-camera effects.
It did.
So I could see that. I'm gonna go with Poor Things just because how often do you see a wide release movie that's got fisheye lens? So I think that'll get people excited.
Yeah. It's been a while. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think I'm going with that just because it was more experimental than any of the others.
Sure.
And for costume design, this is usually where some shittier movies get in, but it looks like these are all big popular ones. I'm just remembering how, what was it? Suicide Squad won Best Costume? Or was it Best Hair and Makeup?
Something, yeah.
Yeah. So for costume design, we've got Barbie, Killers of the Flower Moon, Napoleon, Oppenheimer, and Poor Things. Starting with you, Christopher, who do you think is going to win for costume design?
Napoleon.
Okay. I think that's a pretty strong guess. I think I'm going with the same thing. I also want to say Napoleon because I feel like people want to reward it for something, and this is like the safest thing to reward it for. What do you think, John?
I think Killers
Okay.
will win. But it would be fun to see Barbie, but I think other stuff is more opulent. Like Barbie's so pop. You know what I mean?
Right.
So pop and simple colors and simple shapes. And when you have it's hard to beat historic or fantasy, I think.
Sure.
Yeah.
When it comes to costumes, because you can get so lavish and so intricate. So I think it would, as an artist, because of all the color in it, I think it would be fun.
Yeah.
But I think it'll be something historical.
You know, and I gotta say, you know, Killers of the Flower Moon, watching it, as I studied fashion history and design, and I found that they did a really good job at creating authenticity to the clothing and the costuming in Killers of a Flower Moon.
Mm-hmm.
I do agree with that.
I think it'll be one of those two for sure.
So I feel like the Academy in general is probably mostly men. So therefore, they're not going to have any emotional connection to the costuming that we see in Barbie. Right. Probably even less than Killers of the Flower Moon, because when you think of that, you're thinking of what the women wore more than you're thinking about what the men wore. Like, I can't remember anything that the men wore in that. And then I think probably similar to in Poor Things. Well, I remember... yeah, I guess it's silly clothes, but again, it was mostly Bella Baxter's clothing. Costuming, but with Napoleon, it's very masculine clothing. So I feel like that's what's going to make it win. All right, so moving on to editing. Options are Anatomy of a Fall, The Holdovers, Killers of the Flower Moon, Oppenheimer, and Poor Things. Starting with you, John, who do you think is going to win film editing?
Oppenheimer.
Okay. Any specific reason?
No.
All right.
No, I can't. Yeah, I just don't. I feel like there's no movie that, and I can't think now of some of the other movies that I've watched this year, but none of the. I feel like it's like a very even field.
Well, one impressive thing about the editing in Oppenheimer is I feel like despite it being a movie about talking heads, it does have a continual high energy that keeps crescendoing, and that's all done through the editing and sound design. So it's not like it's the story that's like really pushing you towards this impending doom. So I definitely see that as a win for the editing in Oppenheimer. What about you, Christopher?
I'm with Oppenheimer. I think if anything, adapting it, you know, there had to have been so much that they wanted to put in there, specifically since it came from a biography. Basically, there had to have been extra things that maybe they tried that were cut out, but I thought it flowed and it kept your interest and you kept coming back to it.
So I think that's also a really good point. I think I'm going to go with Killers of the Flower Moon, which is weird because the movie was 3.5 hours long. So how much editing did they actually do?
Right.
But I'm just I'm reminded of the trailer for that, which was basically the beginning of the movie. And it just had this exciting energy right at the start that like throws you into the world, gets you into the excitement that all these people have because of all the money that they're making. And I'm remembering like how it constantly flashes to scenes that could have just been told to the audience, but instead they're shown to the audience as backstory. So I think that's why I'm going to think it's Killers of the Flower Moon that's winning editing. But I'm also very likely thinking it's Oppenheimer too. You both have sold me on that, possibly. All right, so makeup and hairstyling, we've got Golda, Maestro, Oppenheimer, Poor Things, and Society of the Snow. So, Christopher, who do you think is going to win on that?
I would think Golda. There was great makeup in so many movies, but and watching it and remembering Golda when from when she was around, I thought they did that aging someone makeup seems to be really difficult to do. So I think the way they did Helen Mirren, I mean, to some people she was very unrecognizable as Golda.
Yeah.
So
I'm going with that too. It was gorgeous makeup. Didn't see the movie, but it was gorgeous makeup.
I mean, you think about what they just did to her, but it was cool.
It was more than a nose.
Right, more than a nose. That's right.
Well, but it wasn't just a nose as he gets older.
Right.
I'm going with Maestro. When the movie starts, he's much older.
They did do a great job with him.
The makeup's really impressive. Like,
did you, not to interrupt you, but did you
I didn't see Golda.
Did you think that Bradley Cooper looked, I mean, without the makeup, doesn't he look quite a bit like Leonard Bernstein? A more handsome version of Leonard Bernstein?
Yeah.
He could be Leonard Bernstein's grandchild.
Grandchild.
Kind of face, that something about him, he looks quite a bit like, but I thought they did such a good job with that, with him.
Yeah. And with her, which is subtle.
And again, now that was one thing I forgot about, the aging process they did with Carey Mulligan. They did really good with yeah.
Sometimes subtle makeup is even harder.
Correct.
Yeah.
It's like how in beauty, like to do a no makeup look is more difficult sometimes than doing a dramatic look.
Right.
To make it look like it's not there is harder than making it dramatic. So,
so the other half of this is hairstyling. Sorry, John, what was that?
No. I'm going with Maestro, but I did not see Golda, so.
Yeah. I didn't see it either. I just saw the trailers and the photos.
The hair wasn't anything extravagant. I mean,
Well, on none of these movies, hair was extravagant. No. So the nomination's really just for makeup.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right, so talking about sound design, we've got The Creator, Maestro, Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1, Oppenheimer, and Zone of Interest. I'd be surprised if we don't all say the same movie on this one. John, what have you got for sound design?
I'm going to say Mission Impossible.
Okay.
A lot of action movies win that, I think, or Creator.
Creator had some really cool sound effects, like when those lasers come down from the sky to find life on Earth. That was cool.
So I would say Creator.
Okay. Well, I was way off on me guessing what you guys would all pick. So I am going with Oppenheimer.
I thought about
just because of the sound of an explosion.
Right.
Yeah. But no, I think Creator had the best sound. If it was me, I would give it to Creator, but I think it's going to be Oppenheimer. That's my guess. All right, visual effects. So in this category, we have The Creator, Godzilla -1, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, Mission Impossible, and Napoleon. So, John, who do you think's going to win for visual effects?
Godzilla.
I think that's probably going to be it too. Like, it's not the best, but for the budget, it's incredible.
Right. I think it would. I would say Godzilla.
Yeah, and it's nice to award visual effects to a country other than the United States too. So.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah. And that's usually where action movies and stuff get in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. So we are all agreed on Godzilla -1 for visual effects. That's the first one I think we've all agreed on. All right, so original score. There it is. Original score. We've got American Fiction, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, Killers of the Flower Moon, Oppenheimer, and Poor Things. So starting with John, what have you got?
Killers of the Flower Moon.
Me too. Christopher, do you agree?
Yes.
All right. That's the only one that's the score I can actually remember, honestly.
Right.
Scores never really stand out that much to me. Like, I feel like I should pay more attention, but I'm more interested in what the characters have to say.
I think sometimes in my sleep, I'm still hearing the theme from Chariots of Fire. They played the theme to that on the radio. I mean, all the time. Do you remember this, John?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it was just like you just couldn't get it out of your head. But yeah, that was one that stands out for sure.
Yeah.
So the next one, original song. Surprisingly, there's a movie from Flamin' Hot, a song from the movie Flamin' Hot about the Cheetos.
Oh.
That got nominated. So, okay, the options are The Fire Inside from the movie Flamin' Hot, I'm Just Ken from Barbie, It Never Went Away from American Symphony, Wazazi, A Song for My People from Killers of the Flower Moon, and What Was I Made For from Barbie. Christopher, who do you think's going to win Best Original Song?
Barbie for I'm Just Ken.
Oh, okay. And what about John?
I think it'll be Billie Eilish.
Yeah, I think so too, especially because of the reaction to
But that would be a great surprise, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. My vote's for What Was I Made For, also.
Yeah.
All right, so Best Documentary. I feel like I probably didn't see any of these. We've got Bobby Wine, The People's President, The Eternal Memory, Four Daughters, To Kill a Tiger, and 20 Days in Mariupol. I could tell you, I'm picking the only one I've heard of, which is 20 Days in Mariupol.
I would go with that one because I haven't seen those either.
Yeah.
All right, and
I'll go
John,
with that one so we can all agree on one more.
Okay, let's do that. International feature.
And I watch a lot of documentaries, but I haven't seen any of them.
I like watching biographies, but that's mostly it. Biographies and true crime. That's kind of all I watch when it comes to documentaries. All right, so for international feature film, we have Io Capitane, Perfect Days, Society of the Snow, The Teacher's Lounge, and Zone of Interest. John, who do you think's going to win for this?
I think Zone of Interest because it's nominated for so much other stuff. I haven't seen Society of the Snow, but I'm dying to. Maybe I'll watch it tonight. But I just think Zone of Interest is in other categories, and it probably is like, okay, because is it up for Best Movie too? Because that happens sometimes.
It was adapted screenplay and Best Picture, yeah.
No, it's up for Best Picture.
Yep.
That happens sometimes where they get, which I don't understand that either. Why? Sorry. If I don't understand how you can be up for Best International Movie or Foreign or whatever, but then up for Best Picture in I don't know.
No, it's a good point. I mean, I can
understand what you mean. Yeah.
I don't know if I'm articulating it correct, but it confuses me.
Sure. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to go with Society of the Snow.
Okay.
I really liked the movie. I thought it was and I'm surprised it wasn't nominated. Did it have other nominations besides makeup? See, now,
makeup,
all I can really, when I think about the makeup of that, I think of all of the ice in the hair and the
frostbite.
Yeah, frostbite. I mean, but we've seen that in so many other movies, and I don't think that the clothing of the mid 1970s and early 1970s was hard to recreate at all. I don't find, so I'm looking at difficulty of how they would have done that, and so I don't know about that, but I
can do that from a thrift store,
right? But I think Society of the Snow, that would be my choice.
Cool.
All right, moving on to the last category, Best Picture. Our nominees are American Fiction, Anatomy of a Fall, Barbie, The Holdovers, Killers of the Flower Moon, Maestro, Oppenheimer, Past Lives, Poor Things, and The Zone of Interest. John, hit me with who you think is going to win Best Picture.
I think it's going to be Killers.
Yep.
Christopher, same?
Yes, I agree.
Me too. So we all agree that that's gonna win. It's just got so much behind it, and like
for sure,
yeah, like I don't feel like the audience who went to go see Barbie is necessarily the audience that's voting in these elections. Even though Barbie is definitely the crowd favorite.
I think also I love Barbie, but I don't know that it's Best Picture. It made a great statement. It made a lot of money. It offered a new look to a movie. You know, the whole plastic sort of world, or at least in recent times. But it's not. I just don't think it's the kind of movie that they would award Best Movie to. And when you compare it to some other things, I mean, I think that's kind of fair.
Right.
You know, if you had like Best Comedy, Best Lit, you know, that's a different. But if you got to pick one out of all these productions, and I would pick probably Maestro for my second.
Me too.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny how like I feel like Netflix constantly throws in so many millions of dollars every year with the intent to win Best Picture. And if Killers of the Flower Moon wins it, then that means Apple TV got it twice without even trying.
Right.
Since they got what was the one about the deaf girl? No, the girl with the deaf parents who was a singer. Whatever.
Yes.
Yeah. I think that won Best Picture. It was like 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was okay. It wasn't great. But anyway, so it's just funny that if Netflix doesn't win Best Picture for Maestro, that's going to drive George Sarandos insane because he keeps pumping so much money.
Yeah.
It's even just weird to me.
Ted Sarandos.
That these are.
We got you.
Because when I think of Netflix, I still kind of think of TV.
Right.
It's gotten a while for me to get used to that. Because like something comes out and it's Netflix and I'm like, is this Emmy or Oscar?
Right.
Like, where does it go?
Getting used to the feature film aspect of it.
Yeah.
Like Maestro. Like Maestro.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
I know this sounds dumb, but I just had a thought. So, what if more TV series were aired in movie theaters? Would that help movie theater chains? Like if someone every week came in to see the new True Detective, that would be awesome. I would love like the new series.
That's a lot of commitment, though.
That's true, but I mean, like if it was an option, I would probably do it.
I would
for some shows, not all shows.
Yeah.
But anyways,
I don't know that I could do that. For like a whole season,
it would be like a short series, like Game of Thrones would be 8 episodes.
You know, life happens. The thing about going to a movie for just the one movie is that you can choose when you go. The thing about series is that if you got to be somewhere when it airs, you can come home later or watch it the next day. So it would they would have to have multiple showings of it.
Right.
Yeah. So like maybe it's like TV series or serial things would be like Monday through Thursday. And then Friday through Sunday, they're doing movies or something. I don't know. Just a thought.
I think it's a terrible
Could be. All right. Well, I think
we're Americans. We don't have that kind of commitment.
That's true.
It's like going to the gym. That would be to me like going to the gym, and I don't go to the gym.
I was like, "What is a gym?
Like,
what is a gym?"
Right.
The guy across the street, or what?
Right? No, I go to that gym. No, but it's a lot of commitment. I think that would work with something to do with superheroes, animation, stuff out of comic, but because those groups are really like, we're going to show up and we're going to be in costume, even though we're in a dark theater. And you know what I mean? Like, I think it might work with that demographic.
Yeah, that's true.
What if they rebooted Rocky
it's a
Horror Picture
social
Show as like a
thing.
dramatic series?
Dynasty.
I don't think so. I don't think so because again, like if it was like the Comic-Con type crowd, like it would become a social thing. Yeah. It's like, ooh, we're gonna see our friends and what they're wearing this week to watch the newest episode of what it's. Mm-hmm. I think it's just I think people who watch dramas, I don't know, we like to watch them on our couch when we have the time. I don't know. That's just my thought.
Well, I know that I need to watch Anatomy of a Fall soon because it's on here a lot, and I've got no excuse.
Yeah, me too.
It was surprising. It was a little bit thrilling. It was good. It's good.
So the last thing I want to ask you all is there anything that got a lot of nominations that you missed that you really feel like the pressure to watch now?
Anatomy of a Fall. I mean, all of them. I want to see all of them.
Spider-Man? I do. Okay, I understand, yeah.
Oh, well, no, not Spider-Man, because I didn't watch I'm not a big... I rather watch, like, a Marvel movie, like, live action, than watch, like, a cartoon superhero. Even though I loved comic books as a kid and everything, but... so I didn't watch the first Spider-Man, so now I'm like less inclined to watch this one.
I think it would be Spider-Man for me.
Mm-hmm. I mean, as a piece of art, it's gorgeous. Like, have you ever seen watercolor in an animated movie? It's incredible.
Right? So. Yeah. It'd be cool.
All right. Well, I've used you both for over 2 hours now, so thank you so much for your time.
Hey, it was cool.
This has been wonderful.
It was awesome.
I liked it. Can we do it again?
Yes. Yeah, I definitely want to talk about the Oscars.
That would be great.
Yes. I plan on also doing like TikToks when I leave the movie theater about whatever movie I just saw, because then I could also write off the ticket as a business expense.
Yeah, it's a great idea.
But yeah, I definitely want us to connect again after the Oscars to talk about everything that happened.
Sounds good. Hey, John, it's nice to meet you.
You too. Yeah. And I'm going to reach out to you about your art.
I would love to meet up in person and say howdy.
Yeah, please.
Cool.
Great.
Yeah.
I'm glad I connected you two.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Yeah, it's great. Yeah. All right, well, guys, have a great evening. Thank you. I'll see ya.
Thank you.
Bye.
Art for Profit's Sake is recorded through Riverside FM, distributed through Spotify for podcasters, and edited on Adobe Audition. The music is provided by Old Romans. If you learned anything useful or found this podcast helpful, please rate and review us 5 stars. If you want to learn more about me or my art, head over to chainassembly.com.
Hi, it's Nick here. If you're a fan of my work, then I know you either like tarot, horror films, or both. My latest project is a tarot deck inspired by Italian Gothic horror films of the 60s and 70s. Referred to as giallo films, their movie posters were known for their dramatic and bold graphic design choices. I'm bringing that same aesthetic to a new Rider-Waite-style tarot deck that I called Tarocchi Gialli, where each card is lovingly crafted to look like a film poster from the era. It's launching on Kickstarter February 19th. To learn more about the project, follow me on Instagram at ChainAssembly or visit www.chainassembly.com.